Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for the series premiere of Skeleton Crew, episodes 1 and 2, of course. Simply put, it was good. Great, even. I actually really loved it. I know this was more the family-friendly side of things, although I am curious exactly how dark it's going to get. There's, some story elements I'll definitely talk about. But right off the top, literally the opening sequence of, the pirate ship and stuff, all of it was good. I really enjoyed that. I thought they did a good job with all the kids and just their different personalities, which once again, when we get to like a bit of the breakdown, we'll talk about all of that and the choices that specifically Wim made, just everything that he does and how I'm curious to see his character like evolve from really just the kid that's just effing up right now. So for like him just looking at that button and just like, fuck it. And then it's like, you got us lost in space. It's a bad move. It's a bad move. And he doesn't want to take responsibility, but we'll see what happens. Maybe the tutelage of a Jedi will kind of help him out, and we'll see what happens from there. But I really thought they did a good job with these first two episodes. I thought visually, I think it looks really good. Of course, in terms of the visuals, we do have to talk about the suburbs. I never had a problem with it, even from the initial trailer. I know that was a huge element where it's like, Star Wars suburbs, but every time I think about something new happening and it's like, oh, we're, this new power or this new location, I'm just like, it's a whole galaxy. Like technically, it just makes sense. Like everything is going to exist. We just don't see it pretty much at all. So every time I see it, something new, I'm like, as long as I feel like it fits, I'm totally fine with it. And I felt like they did a good job with this as far as it being a Star Wars suburb. And I think it almost ties a little bit into like how weird and potentially evil the actual planet is. Like everything is, nice and so structured, in fact, that the cars actually run along like tracks and stuff in the roads, which I thought was really interesting. That's the first time I think we've ever seen that. And we've definitely seen road. I mean, you look at Coruscant, there are some spots where you'll see at least little things like on a certain path, but for the most part, they're all just flying. But I'm like, I don't think we've ever seen that where there's like just tracks in the ground to help the vehicles. It's almost like bumper cars where they have like the little thing sticking at the top. It's just underneath the cars. So I thought that was interesting, but I thought they did a good job. The suburban style where it's like, you see the houses, you see the lawns, and they got the whole forest, and it's not just an entire forest moon of Endor. It's like a forest, and then it's it's just the forest in the backyard. It's right next to the city. All that stuff, I was like, all right, this works. I don't think we'll see too much of it. I think we're going to be sticking to like the school and maybe some offices, whatever like their police department is going to end up being when the other parents start to come into the fold. Like, hey, our kids are missing. So I don't think we'll get too many locations on the planet. Although who knows, depending on whatever like the full story of this series ends up being, we might see a lot more. I'm not really sure, but I like what they did with that. I thought it was fine. And then of course you get to the spaceport in episode 2, and it was like, yeah, that kind of looked more like classic Star Wars, just out in space. So I thought it was good visually. I thought everything was kind of how it normally looks when it comes to Star Wars. The opening shot, a lot of people have referenced, is like a 1-to-1 recreation of A New Hope, like the entrance to A New Hope with Vader coming on with the stormtroopers and everything. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that when I was watching it, but it's definitely like a 1-to-1 shot of that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Some people will say it's just a straight up ripoff, not an homage. It depends on how you want to look at it or whatever. I thought it was good either way, so I don't really care. But going from that to seeing the kids. Now, I'm horrible at names. The only one I remember is Wim, because it's like, it's just interesting that they called him Whim. Like he does things on a whim. Like it's literally, I feel like that's almost why they named him that. Like him pushing that button, it was the same thing. It was just like, I kind of want to do it though. I want adventure. I want to see what happens. So he does things on a whim. I feel like that was the point. Other than that, we got, Max Rebo Jr. We'll just call him Rebo Jr. We got Non Solo with like the Captain Girl, and then of course Geordie LaForge. So that is how I will be referring to them probably for the entire series. And then Jude Law. It's just going to be Jude Law. And then the droid, which is Smee, SM33. He's based off of, like, his name is a reference to Captain Hook's right-hand man from Peter Pan. So that's why he's SM33. He's meant to reference that character. So that I thought was pretty funny. And I was like, oh, okay. I knew it was something. And then I got the reference from a review I watched, and I was like, that's what it was. I was like, I know SM33 has to be something. I'm like, it's clear what the letters would be, but I'm like, I don't know what that is. So a good reference to an actual, pirate-based character that is fairly famous. He's not, Captain Hook, but he's me. He's there. Somebody got the reference for me to know that, because I never would have got it. I don't, Peter Pan isn't like up there on my top Disney films, but I thought it was good. I thought everything they did was pretty good. I like the actors for the kids. I thought they all did a good job. They all have their personalities, with Wim being the kid who has that such an extreme sense of adventure that he's just like, it could go wrong, but at the very least it'll be new. Like him getting in trouble and everything was like, my dad's not gonna give a crap once he knows I'm right. Like his whole thing was like, just that sense of adventure is, kind of the he lost his mom, so he's not the orphan kid, but he lost his mom. His dad has to go off to work. You know, the whole thing is like his first real introduction, or our first real introduction to his dad, is him being like, hey, I'm going to be late, you know, all week. So here's like your lunch money for the entire week. I'm basically not going to be here. It's like, okay, you know, dad's trying to do what he's trying to do, and things are, you know, really rough, and he has to study, which he never does apparently, so much so that he doesn't realize that his whole life is about to be done in this test, and he didn't know it was even happening. So another little element to the planet where it's like, what the F is going on this planet, where they're like, hey, don't fail this test, because it's literally your entire future. There is no what do you want to be, and this kind of says what you'd be, you know, good for, you know, right now, which I don't know why they do those tests anyway. It's like no one's gonna be good at anything really as a kid. It's just like, I kind of like this, and it's like, this is what you should be. It's like, oh, that's the thing I like. Or, you know, in most stories it's like, I don't want to be this at all. It's like none of it ever matters anyway. But in this is what you're going to be. First little touch of like, this planet is not exactly great. Something weird is going on. It's like kind of militarized, but it's a little hard to tell. So that was like step one. And then that of course introduces us to Non-Solo's mom, and she's like at the top of her game. Is like, you know, there's not a place basically in the future for everyone. And it's like, okay, little hints of dark stuff there. So I like how they handled all of that. And then once the kids go off in the ship, because I feel like there's not too much to cover. I think they did a lot of good stuff, you know, a lot of silly things. The boys reenacting a fight from Star Wars was like, yep. Yeah, like if you did that as a kid, that was just like a good scene. I actually saw both episodes twice. Excuse me. And I watched them again yesterday with my dad and my daughter, and my dad laughed at that scene when it came up. It was like, you know, them playing around with the lightsabers and, you know, or making noises as if they had lightsabers. And I was like, yeah, that's just like little silly stuff like that. Definitely cool. But first episode, decent introductions, nothing too crazy to really talk about. I do like the droids, like another element of this planet, like not being, you know, on the up and up. The droids are very clearly 100%. They're literally just basic CCTV droids. Like their heads are just classic image of like, this is the camera that's watching you right now. Like that's how they made all of the droids. They just have like camera heads. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool. And it's just another one of those little elements. And then going into episode 2, once the kids end up shooting off to space, when Wim's dad is talking to the droids, which everything's a violation. Every time they see somebody, it's like, you're in violation for just being in the forest. Like that's another little tiny element. As soon as they go into the forest, it's like, why are you here? This is wrong. It's like, I can't be in the forest. I know the kid was there, but I think they said the same to his dad, where it's like, you're in violation. I was like, can I not walk in the forest? It's a forest. Just let me go back here. So everything's a violation if you're not like on the straight and narrow. And then when he said that the kids left in that ship, they were like, well, that's impossible because ships aren't allowed to enter or exit. And then they cut them off. And I'm sure it was going to end with like, without proper authority, but it's Star Wars. I mean, let's face it, we've seen Tatooine 8,000 effing times. If I can leave Tatooine whenever I want, something's wrong with this planet. Just saying. So just throwing that one out there. It's like, you can't enter and exit if, you know, there's not authorization or something. Something's going on. They don't even let people see the stars. Like when the kids go up there, that was something I didn't think about when I first saw it. It was like, oh, I never thought there would be so many. And it's because the sky always looks the way that it does at night, with like the crazy turquoise cloudy swirl thing, which this is a super old reference. It depends on if you're as old as me or not, but it reminded me of those weird little like tube toy things that you get where it's just got like liquid in it, and they just put like some stuff in it to make it look cool, and it swirls around, and all you do is just put it on your arm and it just rolls off. It reminded me of that. That's what the sky looked like to me. So if you know what I'm talking about, you know. If not, I have no idea how to tell you to look it up. Just look up like God, liquid arm wrap thing. I honestly couldn't explain it. I have no idea what the name ever was, but it was very popular back in the day. So that's what the sky reminded me of. And the kids, you know, going off the planet, you know, them kind of making that little note, planets can't enter or exit. And then they have like the barrier shield. It's like something's off with this planet. So that has me excited. That honestly, I think that's my number one thing that I'm looking forward to as we go forward in this show, is both halves of the planet. Because I would love to know, of course, with the pirates, they're like, oh, it's this mystical planet that it's treasure planet. So for them, it's treasure planet. And then the actual planet itself is like this weird militarized planet that has like a very oddly strict like rule system. So both halves of that, I'm very excited to see how that ends up playing out. I would assume the pirates aren't all going to get there because even the kids don't know how to get home. But of course that's going to come up. It's like, oh, you know, eventually I would assume it's going to be the wolf dude. But eventually people are going to be like, oh, these kids actually are from Mad Atlan. I can remember the name of their planet, but not the kids. But that, you know, they're going to chase the kids around us. You know, it's going to be the whole show. So we're going to have our crew. We're going to have, you know, the kids, Jude Law, the droid who is super sick. I love that fight sequence. And I think the other character would be the woman that was trying to help the girls out. I don't know if she'll join the crew, but she'll at least be, you know, kind of in and out of the show trying to help them. So I'm excited to see how everything pans out for them, and, you know, the story of this planet, both from within the planet as well as how it even became of this mysterious treasure planet to begin with. So I'm excited for all of that, because they're a part of the Republic. They have Republic credits, or, you know, whatever the new thing is going to be. They have credits for that. So I'm very excited to see, like, how is this going to end up turning out? Like, what does this mean for this planet? Where are they really at? They obviously know about Jedi, so it's not like they're that cut off from everything that's going on. Like, they know the Empire is gone, and, you know, all of these other things. I'm like, all right, what is the deal with this planet though? Like, something's going on. So I'm excited to see the mystery of that kind of pan out. But all in all, like, to keep it short and sweet, I thought this was a really good, you know, first 2 episodes. Like, it started off simple, introducing the kids, the little funny moments. It definitely has that Goonies feel, which is what they said from the beginning. And I was like, yep, I'm looking forward to that. I thought they did a great job with that. I'm super excited. I don't know how many episodes we get, but I'm super excited to see them go forward. And like I mentioned pretty much right at the beginning, I'm very curious how dark things are really going to get, because we had our one big action sequence. It, you know, didn't get too crazy. Normal Star Wars stuff. I mean, heck, even the opening sequence, people were getting blasted. One dude gets hit in the eye, and we see him getting his eye replaced later in the episode, which also makes me wonder how far apart, you know, how long from that opening sequence to the actual episode has been. Because if that, I would assume it was the same dude, because it was the same species at least. Be very odd if it was just another of that species getting a replacement eye. So if that just happened, and then Jude Law's like, man, I've been in here for so long. I'm like, you've been in here for like, what, a week? Like, the dude couldn't get an eyeball. Like, I think the timing might be a little bit off on that. So we'll see what happens there. But I was like, if that's supposed to be the guy that got shot in the face at the beginning of the first episode, it's only been like, it's been like that same day. And he's like, man, I've been in here forever. It's like, have you really? So we'll see how, you know, that ends up playing out anyway. But very excited to see how things go. I thought the action sequence at the end was very cool, especially, you know, I didn't even realize this, but the droid actually has a peg leg, so I thought that was cool. But him coming in and it's like, all right, he punches the dude, he's punching a couple people, beats up the big guy, and he's got like the piston arms, and then people start blasting him, and then he pops out these shields. I was like, oh, that's really cool. He's got shields, and as they're shooting him and the lasers are hitting, I'm like, they're shields that conduct heat. You can do some cool stuff with that. And so, you know, things keep going. And then probably like 30 seconds after they first show off that the shields are glowing, he gets the pig dude and just burns him. It was like, he's like this close to making bacon. Technically, he was like a warthog, but he seared him. And I was like, that was cool. That was very cool. And I was like, that's just one of those simple little things, but that's very cool. Just little stuff like that I love in action. So I'm excited to see how they carry that out going forward. Obviously, he gets hit. You know, they hit him with the EMP. So the kids are, of course, in the brig by the end. And that's when they're arguing and they try to get the little rat, which I thought the rat was definitely going to stick around as like just a silly little pet thing. And then he just like scurries off and like, oh no, he's gone forever. I was like, all right, we got to find some way out of here. And then of course, Jude Law comes in. He's like, don't worry. He listened to everything they were saying. He's like, all right, they are from Adatlan. You know, he listened and he knows they're telling the truth, and they're scared kids that don't know where to go. Gets the key. That's the end of the episode. So I'm very excited for episode 3 to come out. I don't know where they're going to take. Obviously, they're not going to, you know, go right back home, but they're going to escape from here. Maybe another action sequence or like a little stealth moment or something. Get back to the ship. Also, they have to get their droid. So they have to do like a couple of things before they can get back to the ship. Possibly interacting with the woman that was trying to help the girls out again. And then we'll just see what happens. They'll probably end up, you know, going to either another spaceport or maybe another planet in general. But so far, I'm excited. I don't know if we should expect at any point to see a lightsaber. I don't think we actually will, but it'll be interesting to see how we handle this character as a Jedi at this era in time. You know, Order 66 once again, all these little things where it's like, how did he get from point A of starting off to become a Jedi to point B as a pirate captain who screwed up and lost the favor of his crew and then, you know, was thrown in jail. So I'm excited to see what his story is. I'm sure we won't get all the answers next week or in a couple of days, tomorrow by the time you guys see this, but I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. But we'll see what happens. I think it was a good first start. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I would say probably more than a lot of other people did. With the PG element of it, I know that kind of threw some people off, like, oh, it feels like, you know, more kiddie-like. But like I said, I think it's going to ramp up as it goes along. It's going to have some of those other dark moments, kind of like the beginning where people were just getting killed left and right. They're just hitting people in the eye and stuff. And I'm like, I think it's going to have some of those darker elements that are going to be pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. Very curious about both sides of this mystery, because it's like, hey, pirate mystery of this treasure planet. actual mystery of the planet being weird and militarized and like somewhat under, like underbelly type stuff, not, just bureaucracy, bad bureaucracy type of thing, typical Star Wars, I guess. But I'm looking forward to it. All in all, I think it was a good start. Very excited. I also love the music. The ending theme, absolutely phenomenal. So I thought that was great too. But we'd love to know your thoughts on all things Star Wars, but specifically, I was going to say especially, but mix it all up there. Specifically, that's my daughters. Don't know what these are called either, but these are also very famous. But we'd love to know your thoughts on all things Skeleton Crew. First 2 episodes, where you guys think it's headed. What do you guys think of the characters? Obviously, like I said, we have our 4 archetypes. Wim doing his thing is just like the kid nobody likes because he just wants that adventure so bad that he ignores all logic and reason for his sense of adventure. Then we have his best friend who's like, he wants to stick with him. He's like, I'll stay back. I can fail too, so we can at least be in the same class. But it's like, man, you effed this up. Everyone's like, it's definitely your fault. He's like, it's kind of your fault. Like, he was trying to be a good friend. He was being a great friend, actually, because he should have been like, when he got mad at him about the promise, it was like, you fucked me over, man. You said we wouldn't get in trouble. We're lost in space. He's effing up real bad. But it's only 2 episodes. He's got more time to F up. Eventually, he'll be good. We got our rebellious captain who is the daughter of like one, the richest person I would assume that we've met in the show so far. And it's like, okay, she's rebelling because her mother's so strict, but there's something going on that planet. So there's a decent little mystery that they got going on, and I'm excited to get all the answers, plus some decent action in there as well. So we'd love to know your thoughts, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.